I'm recording at an unusual angle today because I am on lunch at an earlier time than usual. So as you can see, the sun is in a weird direction, and I don't want to wash out my entire face. So that's why we're over here. I wanted to talk today about mechanics that incentivize certain behavior. This is kind of the whole deal with game design. You know, if you are designing a game, you are trying to create a certain experience for the players, and that involves writing game mechanics that encourage people to do certain things. And it is to do the things that evoke the fantasy or the decision-making process, or maybe it's a puzzle or what have you, that encompass your game. You know, for board games, this may be encouraging people to think really hard about like risks and rewards, or to backstab each other or whatever. In an RPG, you're usually talking about encouraging or incentivizing players to do like specific kinds of activities with their characters. So for example, if your game involves healing, you want to have mechanics that make healing a good idea for that character. It's effective, powerful, and while it may not always be the right option, it usually is. If you have mechanics for tanking, you want to make sure that those mechanics are powerful, effective, and reliable enough that the player is going to choose to do that over not doing that, you know, because that is the fantasy that you are trying to evoke. There is this idea that tanking shouldn't be a thing in D&D. Nice. It shouldn't be a thing in D&D because it removes agency from the DM, which is such an incredibly surface level understanding of what the term tanking even means and how it can be incorporated into the game. Now, if you just take, here's the argument. So if you've been on Reddit in the last few days, as of the time of this recording, you know that there's kind of an extensive conversation going on about tanking mechanics in D&D. And what people keep saying is, World of Warcraft style tanking with taunts removes all the agency from the DM, and this isn't a video game. Monsters are controlled by a person. Sure, but that's not what anyone's asking for. That's not what anyone's asking for. You can theoretically force enemies to do that with things like command or what have you. You can make them attack who you want to, under very limited circumstances, and I wouldn't consider that to be an intended part of the gameplay experience. It doesn't really come up that much. But what I'm talking about, and what most of us who are advocating for the existence of tanking in an RPG are talking about, is mechanics that incentivize certain behaviors. So in much the same way that a wizard is incentivized to throw down big area of effect control spells because those are quite powerful, a barbarian is incentivized to go into a rage and rush forward. I would like, and others who advocate for this kind of thing, would like mechanics that incentivize enemies to focus on the tank. And sort of parallel with this, we want mechanics that incentivize the tank to want to be attacked more than their allies. So this is a kind of two-pronged approach, and I want to talk about tanking just real quick to give sort of the groundwork as an example. This video isn't supposed to be explicitly about tanking. It's about mechanics that encourage certain behaviors. But tanking is sort of the big example. It's the one on my mind. It's the one that sparked this idea. So a 4th edition fighter provides tremendous incentives. Wow, my hand is super reflective. Look at that. I'm talking drinking in front of a campfire. The fourth edition fighter creates significant, strong incentives for enemies to focus on himself. A penalty to attack anyone other than the fighter. Punishment if they choose to defy the mark or try to get away. So these are the kinds of effects that are going to, they don't force the enemy to do anything, but they do strongly encourage the enemy to consider maybe just attack the fighter. These are mechanics that encourage certain behaviors. And then also the fighter has more hit points and higher defenses. So the monsters are less likely to hurt the fighter than they are to hurt others. And if they do, healing is more effective because of the way 4th edition healing works. It's always, well, it's nearly always based on a percentage of your maximum hit points. So having more hit points, and then the fighter also has more healing surges, so they can be healed more times over the course of a day. These are all factors that work into how effective tanking is in 4th edition. Now, it's curious to me that people think that that shouldn't be part of 5th. And some people even think that it is. People describe the fighter and the paladin as tank classes, and they're super not. Because they can't incentivize enemies to attack themselves. Not really. Not strongly. They can give, like, a reason. Like, I'm going to go stand next to this enemy, and if you try to go fight my allies, you won't be able to disengage, so you'll provoke an opportunity attack, and I'll get 1 attack against you. When my damage scales based on the number of attacks I'm making, primarily. That's no good. And then once you get over there, you are free and clear to do whatever you're going to do at full effectiveness. I can't slow that down at all. This is, and then obviously it takes your reaction to make an opportunity attack. So if there's more than 1 enemy, I'm doing nothing to anyone after the first. So tanking is, it's non-existent in a sort of practical way. You could say that it exists, you would be wrong, but you could point to certain specific mechanics and say that they exist, and therefore that tanking exists. It's just that in practice, they don't make these kinds of situations that that you're looking for as a tank, where the enemies can't move past you or don't. It's not that they can't; they don't dare. You are such a force on the battlefield. I love that glow. That's, man, my hand is so powerful. They don't dare just ignore you. You are a force on the battlefield that they must contend with. That is the feeling of being a tank. I was about to get to something else. Oh, right. People have said that, oh, well, the DM should respect your desire to be a tank and have the enemies focus on you. But there's no mechanics to incentivize that. And what I want out of an RPG is mechanics that incentivize the kind of behavior that the fantasy is saying that you should be doing. You know, why would I prepare any healing spells other than Healing Word if none of them are going to keep up with enemy attacks? Healing Word is the best because it's a bonus action. It doesn't take up my whole turn. And it can be done at range. So why would I prepare Cure Wounds? Cure Wounds is a bad spell. Because, like, chances are you're going to go down in a single hit anyways. Might as well use Healing Word. At least then I get to throw a cantrip at the same turn. You know, why would I rush into melee on purpose when I can stand back and be just as effective and safer? You know, these are the kinds of things, like, anytime there is a mechanic that encourages you to do the thing that you want to do, that's really good gameplay. That's the best way that a game can be designed, is if you get mechanically rewarded for the things that your character's fantasy tells you that you want to do anyways. And you don't have to sort of ignore the mechanics, and you don't have to pretend that there's a reason to do what you're doing. You know, because anytime you have to do that, that is a failure of the game to support the fantasy that you're trying to create. I'm thirsty. And it's not always a big failure, but it is a failure. This happens in 5th edition a lot. it cannot be more exemplified than in the example of you have like someone that you are defending and you have an enemy and then you want to go stand in between them. I'm gonna put myself between these two and I'm gonna defend the person that they're trying to get to. When, because of the way opportunity attacks work, that enemy can just go around you and attack that person, no penalty. You have to have like extra special abilities to try to do anything about this. And those abilities are largely ineffective and tied to specific subclasses or, specific fighting styles that come at great opportunity costs. And it's such a niche situation that you don't build for that kind of... I recognize that that's a niche situation. I recognize that that's not going to come up even once in a campaign. But it is the kind of situation where the narrative and the mechanics do not agree on what can happen here. And I keep getting told when I posted this meme on Reddit, and I keep getting told that the DM should respect the narrative of the fighter going into the middle. I guess it's a paladin in the meme. The tank, the player character. The DM should respect what the player character is trying to do and focus on them anyways. And it's kind of missing the point, because the point of the meme is to point and laugh at the silly opportunity attack mechanics in 5th edition. Haha, they're weird and silly and not effective. But even so, even if you want to take it completely seriously and say and take it as a challenge that you have to defend, they saying that the DM should just pretend like they can't do the things that the mechanics say, like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to me, because you are playing the game with the rules as they are written. And I'm not saying you never break the rules. Obviously, the rules can't cover everything. It's not never break the rules. But I'm saying that the idea that the DM should just decide not to do the advantageous thing that the monster wants to do is strange to me. Is that not strange? Fully divorced of what the monster's motivations are, because sometimes the monster's going to do things based on what it wants that aren't necessarily tactically superior. That's fine. I do that all the time. I'm talking about the monster can go attack the target without any repercussions or penalty at all, and they're choosing not to. That's weird. That if I was the player, first off, I wouldn't have put myself in that position. But second, if I was the player, I would feel coddled too. Because there's two different directions you can take this. Either we are narratively saying that the monster can't get to the orphan or get to the target. It's an orphan in the meme. The monster can't get to the target. Or we're saying that they are choosing to stop their objective to attack me instead because reasons, I guess. In the former case, what has functionally happened is that the DM has created new mechanics where the monster will always attack whoever's closest. And that's an aggro mechanic, and that's what people in the WoW taunting, WoW tanking is just taunts and aggro management, and this is not a MMO. Those people are warning against that exact same mechanic, and that's what you have functionally done. Or you feel coddled too, don't you? I would feel like the DM is sort of placating me, and that feels bad. I want my victories to be earned. And maybe that can't be a universal experience. I'm sure there's people who would feel good about, oh, I stepped in the way and then they focused on me. Hurrah for me, I'm a winner. When it is, in fact, the DM who has decided, we're going to let you have this one. I don't know. I don't, here's the thing about me, and maybe this is where the big disconnect is happening. I don't want to be coddled to. I don't want to be condescended to. I don't want to be given freebies. I want to earn the victories that my characters achieve. And I want to do that by interacting with the rules and participating in the game in a fair, reasonable way per the mechanics. So I need mechanics that allow me to do the things that I want to do en route to achieving these victories. And I feel like I have I've strayed quite far from the actual topic at hand. Because I got tied up talking about tanking, and tanking is an interesting, expansive, and fun topic to talk about. But we want to talk about mechanics that encourage certain behaviors. And this is sort of my litmus test for like how good an RPG is written, or how well it's written. How good it is if I have a character fantasy that is in keeping with the genre and the tone of the RPG, I should be able to live out that fantasy, take the actions that I would imagine the character taking in the situations that I would imagine them taking them in. And the mechanics should make that a good idea. Blades in the Dark has some excellent examples of this. PCs are strongly encouraged to go do crazy stuff. You actually get XP for doing dangerous things, for doing like stupid, borderline suicidal stuff. You get XP for doing it. And then you get tools to sort of mitigate or lessen the consequences of those actions. So that is mechanics encouraging the sort of crazy, high stakes, reckless behavior that is so fun to watch characters do in that genre of game. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Game mechanics that encourage the behavior that you want to see. That's excellent game design. And what I don't see is a lot of that in 5th edition. And I think that's probably why I've started to kind of find 5th edition to be a pretty dry game, because it doesn't incentivize characters to do like much other than like, you know, find the best spells, cast the best spells, stay safe. Which has always kind of been an issue with D&D is that there's not a lot of reward for taking risks. And that's always been D&D's weakness. At least as far back as 3rd edition, I assume all the way back to the beginning from what I've heard, is that there's no mechanic for rewarding risk-taking other than the DM making something up on the fly. Which, if your DM is making stuff up on the fly, that is a failure of the game. That is, you know, kudos to the DM, not kudos to the game. And that I think is a big difference. And maybe I'll make a video on that. DM versus game and who gets the credit for stuff. Actually, that doesn't need to be a whole video. I mean, it's so self-explanatory. That would be a 2-minute video. Sometimes the DM does good things to make the game more fun. Don't give the game credit for your DM being good. It's that simple. Anyways, yeah, I think that's more or less all I have to say on this particular topic.